All right, today we're diving into Bill Gates' recent appearance on The View. From tech billionaires shifting political power to AI competition with China, there's a lot to unpack. Let's get into it.
First of all, welcome to The View.
Wow.
But secondly, it's kind of great to have you at such an important time for the country because it seems like today's tech billionaires are shifting rightward and seem to have more power than even the VP, whose name I can't remember.
So the hosts bring up the idea that today's tech billionaires might have more power than the vice president. That's a pretty bold claim. But is it true? Are these figures shaping policy behind the scenes more than our elected officials? And if they are, should we be concerned?
Well, there's no club of these people where it's, kind of individual. And, I'm very focused on global health and, hope the transition to this administration doesn't interrupt some incredible work that's been going on.
Well, they had some VIP seating at the inauguration, and we did notice you weren't there. What do you make of that visual?
Bill Gates wasn't at the inauguration. Some might see that as him staying neutral, while others could see it as a statement. Does it really matter where a billionaire philanthropist chooses to sit during a political event? Or is this just the media looking for a story?
They clearly wanted to fund the inauguration. They wanted it to be a great inauguration, just for the good of the country, no doubt.
I feel we're calling you Bill, Mr. Gates. Shortly before President Trump took office, you had a 3-hour dinner with him, and that's more FaceTime than, as you say, you had with Joe Biden during his presidency. And by your account, you say that you were impressed with him. What are you able to share about issues you discussed? And since he's only been in office 2 weeks, but do you feel like what you discussed aligned with what you're seeing so far?
Well, my two priorities in talking to President Trump were the global health issues, particularly HIV and polio. The voters have a lot to be proud of. We've saved tens of millions of lives. The number of children who die at the turn of the century is over 10 million a year, now down below 5 million. And things like HIV medicines, malaria bed nets are responsible for that, and vaccines. So I was encouraging him to drive more innovation in those spaces. We're still missing some vaccines, and I felt we had a very good conversation.
Okay. Well,
Gates had a 3-hour dinner with Trump. That's a lot of time. He says they talked about health issues, which is great. But let's be real. How much influence does a billionaire really have in shaping health policies? And should they? Is this philanthropy? Or is there something more?
you, Mr. Gates, you also called Elon Musk's political influence abroad, quote, insane, along with another word we can't repeat here. But what's your take on his political access and influence here in America right now?
Well, Elon, his private sector work, has been very innovative, really fantastic. A lot of private sector people, when they get into government, they don't take the time necessarily to see what the good work is or why it's structured the way it is. So I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff. My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there. So, hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So, with aid, people think, wow, how much do we give to these countries? As you said, it's less than 1%. People think it's 5% and it should be 2%, but it's actually under 1%.
Wow. And still saving lives. Well,
the Elon Musk mention. Gates has previously said that it is insane that Musk can destabilize foreign politics, but notice how he sidesteps the real question. He throws in some praise about Musk's innovation, but doesn't actually address the concern. Is this just a billionaire rivalry where one downplays the other? Or is there an actual problem with billionaires steering politics that Gates would rather not talk about?
Before COVID, you say you spent the most sleepless nights worrying about pandemics. After COVID, has that changed? And if it has, what keeps you up now? Because we all need to know.
Yeah, the pandemic, sadly, was fairly predictable, and it won't be the last pandemic. The next one could be far more severe. I mean, this one, it killed millions. It was awful. We got the vaccine. Actually, President Trump's leadership was a factor in getting that out quickly, and so when I spoke to him, I said, okay, here's some other medical innovations, including a thing called an HIV cure that could be accelerated. So, we should be more prepared, both for a pandemic. I'd say that's still number one. You can worry about nuclear war. You can worry about AI.
This
There's
sounds like
plenty to worry about. But
do you
overall,
sleep
I'm
at
an
all?
optimist.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's up to the government to think ahead on behalf of the citizens.
Yes.
So, pandemic, there's a lot that we should be doing that hopefully we'll get our act together before the next one comes. Overall, the innovation in health, both in the developing countries, the rich world, I love being part of that.
I was reading, though, that you said the next pandemic you are predicting within maybe 25 years. Is that
Certainly
accurate?
we'll have one in the next 25 years. There's even some pathogens out there that we're watching over right now. So maybe 10% chance in the next 4 years.
Well, let's talk.
Gates predicts another pandemic within 25 years. Now, is that just a statistical likelihood, or is he warning us about something he knows? And if he does know, why aren't governments acting faster? Are we actually prepared?
Talk about AI, which you mentioned. Last week, Silicon Valley and stocks were rocked by news that China's AI model may outperform ours at a fraction of the cost and quicker to develop it. You've been in the book, you're very optimistic about AI. Are you still optimistic, and is the U.S. falling behind China in the AI race?
Well, the U.S. has done amazing work. Both people born here and people who come here mean that we have more AI companies than even China has. But we should never underestimate great innovation in China. In many of the areas of science or getting product costs down, they do great work. They're 20% of the world's population. So the fact that this turn of the crank, they got ahead, that's not totally surprising. The U.S. companies will, including OpenAI, will catch up and move ahead. The pace of advance is pretty fantastic. And in many ways, that's going to help us in education and health delivery. A lot of good things that can come out of this that aren't zero sum, that, having all countries have access, including poor countries, I think is very exciting.
China's AI is apparently outpacing the U.S. Does that mean the U.S. is falling behind? Or is this just another round of tech rivalry? Should we be worried about AI dominance shifting east? And what does that mean for the future of global power?
I have to ask you this because of my obsession with social media and where it's going. We noticed you haven't tweeted in a while, but this past weekend you joined TikTok, Bill Gates. Why did you join the platform? Where do you come down on the impact of social media more broadly, especially with Meta banning fact-checking?
Do you do dance numbers on TikTok?
Whatever it takes to sell books.
Bill Gates on TikTok. Of all places, is he just trying to stay relevant? Or is this a strategic move? And what does it say about the state of social media when one of the world's richest men hops on a platform that's under constant scrutiny? So that's Bill Gates on The View, talking tech, politics, AI, and even TikTok dances. But what do you think? Is he just a philanthropist trying to do good? Or does he have more influence than we realize? Let me know in the comments.